Already, more than 94 million voters have cast their ballots, but millions more will turn out tomorrow. Hannah McCarthy is a co-host of Civics 101 from New Hampshire Public Radio and the author of A User's Guide to Democracy: How America Works. She joins us now to talk about early voting and how, there's some useful information for voters. Hannah, good morning. We know that we've been talking a lot about record voting numbers. We've seen videos of those long lines at polling locations. With this record amount of early votes, everyone is wondering, what does this mean for the results?
What this means for the results is that, as we've already heard from a lot of people, we're probably not going to know for certain who the winner of this election is in terms of the president on election night. We're so used to having networks project who that winner is, but because states have different rules when it comes to when they're willing to accept mail-in ballots and when they're counting those mail-in ballots, we might have states, for example, like Michigan and Pennsylvania, which are key battleground states, that aren't even going to count their mail-in ballots until after election night. So usually networks are making projections based on exit polls and early returns. Because of the sheer volume of early votes, those networks won't be able to make very clear projections as to who the winners are in those states. So we're not really looking at election night. We might be looking at election week or weeks.
Wow. So, Hannah, I want to give you this scenario. Say a person receives an absentee ballot, but they decide they want to vote in person. What can they do in that case?
So, in many, many states, even if you have received an absentee ballot, whether that's something that you've applied for or a state sent it to you automatically, you still have options. So, if you have not mailed in that absentee ballot yet, states are encouraging all people, regardless of the deadlines, regardless of when that state is willing to accept that ballot, to not mail it in. Because the USPS is so taxed, especially in this pandemic, that ballot could be delayed to the point that it won't be counted. So you can do a number of things. There are drop boxes in a lot of states that you can take that absentee ballot to, drop it in. That will be counted by the state on election night or before. You also have the option in many, many states, and when I say many states, what I'm really encouraging voters to do is contact their election officials and ask, because it does vary from state to state. But you can, in many cases, go to a polling place or a voting center, bring that absentee ballot, because you might either have to destroy it yourself in front of the election official or have them void it. But you may either be allowed to cast a normal ballot or fill out something called a provisional ballot. And once that election official has determined that you have not already voted and that you are an eligible voter, that provisional ballot will still be counted. One last option is that you can have somebody else in certain states drop your ballot off for you if you are unable to get to your polling place or a voting center. So in most cases, there are still options for you to vote, but I would encourage voters to not mail it in the event that it just does not get in time for that ballot to be counted.
Now, I'm so glad that we're talking about this because I didn't think of this, but another problem that some voters may run into is learning that their name isn't on the voter roll or they've failed to register on time. So, what should someone do if that happens?
Yeah, absolutely. So many states actually allow for day of voter registration. So just be aware of that. If you have not yet registered and you're thinking, oh man, I really wish that I could still vote on election day, it might still be possible. Now, let's say that you have registered, you know that you're a registered voter, but you show up, as you said, at your polling place and you find that you're no longer on the voting rolls. This is because of something called voter roll purging, where they clear a lot of names for various reasons, depending on the state, to sort of get the deluge out, right? So what you're gonna do in a case like that is then opt for a provisional ballot. Yet again, my name's not on that roll. Okay, I'm going to fill out a provisional ballot once you've determined that I am in fact an eligible voter and I am in fact reasonably registered here in this state. That vote will then be counted. It'll be counted later, as a lot of mail-in ballots will be counted, but it will be counted, and you can get a receipt and track that ballot to make sure that your vote actually made a difference.
Right, Hannah McCarthy from New Hampshire Public Radio. Thank you.
Thank you.